Hey everybody, I am going to show you how to use how to do the channels, the split effect in Photoshop, just because the tutorials that are in there miss a couple steps if you want to do something a certain way. So if you want to keep the color of your image in there, you can just move on to the channel step, which I'll show in a few minutes. However, if you want to make it black and white, you are going to click on the black and white here. You can adjust some of the values here to create contrast. You can also come in and do some of that a little bit later, or you can use a levels for that also. Your other option for, ooh, that's nice. I like how that brightens the light. You could do, I'm going to take this off for a second. You could do a gradient map, which I also tend to really like when it comes to adding a black and white. So, all right, so once you have your black and white on there, I think I'm going to throw on the levels really quick just to add a little more contrast to this image. And let's say I got that looking good. I'm going to merge both of these down. Okay, so I'm going to right click and I'm going to do, if I know I want to merge both layers, I can just do flatten image. Or you can just do merge layer down and that'll bring it down a little ways. All right, now what you're going to do from here is you're going to go to channels. You're going to click on a channel and it's going to highlight it, and it should just have the eye on for one. So think about this as a color balance. So red, the opposite is going to be cyan, so it's going to bring out those two colors. Green is going to be magenta, and then blue is going to be yellow. Okay, so you can do just one channel or multiple channels. So once I'm on the red, I'm going to go to filter, distort, and then shear. And then I've got this baseline right here. I can just shift everything one way. Okay, so I can move the top and bottom and get a straight line. You can see it moved everything over, or I'm going to move this back. I can always do an option reset. Okay, or I think it's Alt if you're using PC. I can make a click and I can shift this around. Okay, so I can move it that way instead. All right, so I'm just know that little shifts make a big change. So you'll want to test it out and undo it if you don't like the way it works. So I'm going to do something like that. I'm going to say okay. And then to see what that looks like, I'll just go back to the RGB, click on it, and you can see how it shifted those colors. If you just like one set of couple colors, go ahead and leave it, and you can do some next steps to this. Or you could click on, I'm going to take off the eye for my other ones. I'm going to click on maybe green this time, go up to filter, distort, shear. This time I'm going to move it around maybe a little bit differently so I can see some colors coming out in a different way. Just say okay, turn that eye on, and you can see more colors coming out. Okay. Now, if you want to apply it to just part of your picture and not the entire thing, because you can see the colors coming through all of it, you can do a couple different things with this. So I've applied it to the background layer, so it's just there. So one thing I could have done, I'm going to go back to when I did my black and white, and I merged it down. Let's get to that point. Okay, so I flattened it here. I could just do a Command J, and I could have my background there, and I could go into the channels. I could choose the one I want. So I'm going to just do filter, distort. I'm going to do it a different way this time. I'm going to show you. So shear, I'm going to do my option reset. Oops, that didn't work. Let's try that again. Actually, I did Command and default, and that brought it back to that straight line. So if I just move it over this way a little bit, just shift the whole image right rather than kind of waving it, and I'll say okay. I like how that looks, so I'm going to do one more on my green, take the eye off for everything besides the layer that I want it, or the channel I want to apply it to. I'm going to do one more. I'm going to do shear again. This time maybe I'll shift it back and see what that looks like. It didn't really show up once I shifted it back, so I'm going to apply it one more time. in a little bit different way. So maybe I'll move it this way a little bit more, see what that looks like. And put those, oh, boom, look at those colors. Fabulous. All right, now, once I go back to my layers, let's say I only want it to apply to like part of it. I can mask this out. So I can add a mask here. I can come to the left to my brush. I'm gonna use black as I'm masking it. I'm gonna start with a soft brush, but if, so I'll do 20-ish%. And then bracket key to make my brush bigger. And I could just come and brush in anywhere where I don't want to apply that effect, okay? So you'll want to still kind of make it feel like it's part of the picture, but you could do something like this where it only applies it to a little bit. If you want it to be more of like a direct effect, I'm gonna undo my brush tool. I could come in and maybe even do like a polygonal lasso and like cut through my picture. So I'm just going to lasso any of the area where I don't want it to apply my RGB. Okay, it's only showing the marching ants for part of it because I had it going off of the picture, but it should still work. And I can do edit, fill, and I'm just basically filling my mask right here with black so that it doesn't show it. Command D to take off that. So then I could apply that to just part of it. So you can play with what you want on how you want this to look. If you have a little more of a subtle effect, it might work a little bit better that way. So there's lots of different ways to do this. Check out some of the tutorials on how they're doing it. And then you can just kind of play with that. Oh, I'm going to show you one last way. If you just want to apply it to part of your picture and not the whole thing, I'm going to duplicate this again. So if I go to channels, I'm going to choose my channel color. I'm going to do it on red. Select, filter, distort, shear. I'm going to do command default. And then what I'll do is anywhere where I don't want it to move, I'm just going to click on that little point. That might have moved it slightly. Okay, so that should create a space so it doesn't move. And then if I just want it to move on top, I'll do this. And then in theory, it should stay everywhere else in place and then only move on that part. I think that kind of worked. There's a little bit of a shift here, but you could try that a few times and see if that works. And you could even, it would be even easier to mask out if you did it a little more subtle than I did. Okay, so play with that. Let me know if you have questions and see what you can come up with. Have a great day.